What's going on, guys? Episode 2 of the Right Minds, Right Times podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Smith, and I'm here with the guest, Victor Nieves.
Thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure. It's good to be here.
Awesome. Now, Victor, so what's your kind of like background? What do you do right now?
Man, that's like a loaded question, I guess. I do a couple things. My like day job is that I work for a pro-life nonprofit, a nationwide pro-life nonprofit. But I'm a content creator. I'm an author. I wrote the book Conservative Prudence. I was a radio host for like 2 years in St. Louis on Real Talk 93.3 FM. And I make a lot of content and get banned a lot.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we're gonna get into all that, the banned part, because that seems like a reoccurring thing. Just conservatives getting banned. But you've been banned like what, 7
I
times?
lost count. I honestly don't know. I stopped trying to keep track of it. TikTok, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but TikTok, I loved it. I enjoyed it. I had fairly decent success on it with my first account. And then it was like, okay, you get banned, you shake it off, you make another account, you grow that one again, you get banned, you shake it off, you grow another until, after like 5 or 6 times, you're just like, I don't care anymore. I literally genuinely lost count of how many accounts it's been.
Yeah, that's wild. That's wild. So, give us kind of your spiel of when you kind of how you started off in life. Like, were you always conservative? Did you kind of were you maybe in the middle at one point? Were you apolitical?
No,
Like, kind of what
no.
were you? Were you always based from day one, right out of
I
the
came
womb?
out of the womb with a Trump hat. No, I don't know if we've ever talked about this, Smitty, but
No,
I actually
no.
grew up in politics. My dad was a Missouri state senator whenever I was growing up. So like all through elementary school, middle school, and then ending while I was in high school, he was a state rep for 8 years, a state senator for 4. So I grew up in campaigns and surrounded by disgusting, horrible human beings. And for me, it was just kind of normal. Like I see all of this political stuff going on, and I don't know. That's like home base for me. That was the starting point in my life. So I never even dabbled with being a moderate. I was like a hardcore conservative since day one. But my parents were very like intentional about not just telling me, "Hey, Victor, we vote Republican," but they would say this is why, right? These are the statistics. I mean, I was like 8 years old. I could recite you like statistics on all of these things, the Constitution, quotes from the founding fathers, like whatever it might have been. And it's weird and it's cringy. I don't know how I didn't end up one of those like cringe lord political people. And maybe some would say I am, but I
Maybe
like
I
to
was
think
about to say. I'm like maybe some would say.
I like to think I'm somewhat functional. You can meet me and not think, oh my gosh, that guy's weird. Um, Depending on how well you know me, I guess. But either way, I was never anything other than extremely conservative.
Really? Yeah, I read that in your book about your dad and all that, and then something happened. Something quite interesting happened. Forget exactly what it was. You were like, was it something like your dad was threatened or something happened that
Oh
was big,
no,
that
that
was
was just
weird?
normal. Yeah, that was just
That was
normal, like
normal.
happenstance. But yeah, people, and it's when you grow up in it, it doesn't seem like a very big deal. For some people, it would seem like something really big. But like we had political opponents leaving death threats on our home answering machine. And, me and
Yep.
my siblings were like 9. And it was people like specifically naming my sisters and saying they hope that they get raped and somebody should kill them and rape them and like all, like wild stuff to where my parents had to turn off the home answering machine because, like we were kids. It would play. It was one of those old school ones, right? Someone would leave a message and it's just like boop beep. And it's this guy who's like, I want to kill you and your and it, you
Oh
don't really
my
want your
gosh.
9-year-old sitting in the living room
Hearing
when the
that.
answering machine goes off. But there was like a guy who tried to intimidate my mom in a dark parking lot, and like that was just the thing. And the craziest part, most people when they hear that, they assume because I was conservative, dad was conservative, they would assume that these were Democrats that were doing this. No. This was
Mhm.
Republicans that were doing this to our family. So, a lot of people it wasn't until recent that they realized the Republican establishment is trash. I've been knowing that for a long time. The Republican
Yeah.
establishment is horrible. That's enemy number one to me and has been for a long time. But yeah, that was just, I guess, a unique aspect of the way I grew up was death threats and that kind of stuff.
Nice. So nothing has changed. I'm sure you get plenty of those in your DMs because I sure hell do. I sure do quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
the first time I started getting them on TikTok, I was it was like a warm hug from an old friend, someone you haven't seen in a while. Because I had kinda gotten away from politics, you know, the family got out of it, and so then I started making content, and I was like, "Oh, look at that, they're back. The death threats are back," which, hey, listen, if you're getting death threats, presumably you're doing something right. No one's ever done anything worth doing without opposition. So the more that these freaks and degenerates, you know, tell me they want to kill me, the more I think, well, I must be over the target somehow.
exactly. Like if you don't have any enemies, I just feel like you're doing something wrong. You're not you're just I don't want to say like stagnant, but you're not really accomplishing anything in life because you're gonna have enemies if you're doing something significant. For sure, without a
Oh
doubt.
yeah, I mean,
So
think about it. This is the analogy I give all the time. Um, I first came up with this. I was talking to a group of high schoolers, but if you were playing Skyrim, right, or any of these games, if you're playing Skyrim and you're trying to figure out your way through a cave, the quickest way to know you're heading in the wrong direction is you stop running into enemies. Like the things are no longer trying to kill you, right? If you're in a Skyrim dungeon and you're like, man, it's been 5 minutes, I haven't seen anything try to kill me. You're in the wrong, like you took a wrong turn, which is exactly the same in the world of politics. If nobody's attacking you, yeah, you're not heading in the right. You're not on track for the quest. You know, you're going somewhere else.
what's that saying though? It's just like if the devil isn't trying to persuade you to do anything, you're probably doing something wrong. I forget. I think Mike Tyson said it, something like, or even it might have been Denzel Washington. But he said a quote like that, where just basically, if you're like the devil's favorite, he's gonna leave you alone. He's not gonna do.
Yeah.
He's like, no, that dude's a man right there. Yeah, leave him be, leave him be. But if you're doing something right,
Yeah.
he's gonna be all up in your business, giving you all these challenges in life. So I think that there's definitely truth in that, but when you do something right, it's not gonna be easy.
That's
Yeah,
definitely Mike
but
Tyson. It's not.
Mike
That's not
Tyson,
Mike Tyson.
no.
That's not
Mike
Mike.
Tyson's actually really wise though. Like, if I
Dude,
don't know if
no,
you've seen some of
he's
his
a
stuff. He's really
philosopher.
wise now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy because so I've been a boxing fan for a long time. I boxed for like 6 years. I don't do it anymore, but I was like obsessed with Mike Tyson. And so I watched his old highlight stuff from like the 80s. You know, he was just
Oh, yeah.
buzzsawing everybody. But then you'd have these press conferences. I think it happened more in the 90s, like the post prison era. He was very hateful. And he would like tell these reporters, I'll F you till you love me. You and he's like telling this
Prison
to like
talk.
dudes. He's like, I'm gonna eat your kids. I'm gonna and you know, then you fast forward like 15 years and he's on this podcast just like high as a kite. And he's like, I don't know, man. I think that this is not nice. And I'm like, I love Mike Tyson. I
I
love that
love
guy.
that guy so much. That's probably my favorite. That's probably like the biggest role model right there because he has shown like even though you've come up, he's the American dream right there because I don't know if you guys know his life, like his mother was basically like a prostitute,
Hmm.
just he would sell there's something with pigeons and like I forget. There's so many sad stories in Mike Tyson's childhood. And then he
The
rose
pigeon
out
one,
from it. He would
he had a pet pigeon, and some
yeah.
neighbor kids beat it to death, and then he went and beat him up. That's his like
Yeah.
it's like
No,
Mike
figured.
Tyson's origin story. He was getting bullied, and some kid like killed his pigeon, and then he learned to fight, and beat them all up.
Yep, and then he met that trainer, and then his whole life just changed after that, and he was a disciplined person. Then he got into some weird religious, I don't want to get too in it, but it was like weird. And then all of a sudden he got out of that, and then he went to prison, But nowadays, when I just look at him, I just see the person he's become, and it's kind of crazy to me, like what a roller coaster his life has been. So I definitely am a big Mike Tyson. My favorite one is when he like hit the guy with the afro and he hit him so hard like the afro was like went back and forth. It's just because and the dude got knocked out. I used to watch like religiously all of his highlights.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a man. He's a man. But yeah, so going back to conservative talk. So when you had all these like threats and stuff, like and you said they were from Republicans, right? Why
Yeah,
do you
like
think that
growing
is?
up.
Yeah.
Um, it'll sound like corny, especially in the post-Trump era, but in some ways we kind of saw what they did to Trump on a lesser scale 15 years prior, where I mean, for like anybody can look him up. Brian Nieves, he had a freakish conservative voting record in Missouri, pushed for legislation that, was years and years and years ahead of its time. He tried to make English the official language of the state of Missouri, constitutional carry, I mean, this was stuff that we just now started talking about. So he was way out there compared to what most of the Republicans in the Missouri legislature were. And so it upset the apple cart. I mean, you're talking about guys who Missouri had just flipped from blue to red. Actually the session that he went in to the Missouri House, it flipped from blue to red. And so there was a lot of this, the old guard was still there, and the Republicans that were there wanted to play nice, and they wanted to hold hands with the Democrats and sing kumbaya, and we'll just screw the people together, it's all right. And so he didn't like that and bucked the system enough that the Republicans, they wanted rid of him. There were like court cases about him. People accused him of all kinds of stuff. They took him to court on all kinds. I mean, it really was a
That's
lesser
crazy.
version of what they would then do to Trump on absolute gigantic steroids. So it's the same way you've got like the John McCain's and the Mitch McConnells and all of these people that are so happy to stab a Republican in the back the second they start to do anything meaningful. That exists not just at the federal level, that's at the state level, that's at the local level. The good old boys club is it's alive and well.
Yeah, yeah. I guess that's true. They're all part of the same establishment. They don't want to mess up that up. It's like Matt Gaetz right now. Like Matt Gaetz is so out there with his opinions. Dude. I don't know if you ever seen some of the stuff he said. Like he was talking to this one lady, or no, I guess he was getting interviewed, and this one lady's like, um, so are you calling the women at the abortion rallies fat and ugly? And he's like, yep.
Yep.
It's just like, yep. He's like, and he goes into depth. There's a couple other clips where he does that, but it's so funny to me. I love that's the kind of people I want to vote for. That's the kind of I hate being politically correct. I just want someone to tell me how it is. Be blunt up front. I don't care if you hurt my feelings. Just show me some logical conclusion and or just say what we're all thinking too. There's also that aspect to it. But
Hmm.
people like that, like I think Matt Gaetz is like I saw him at Turning Point USA event speak, and he's a really good speaker. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, who do you think? Do you think Jim Jordan should be? Well, he just backed out, right? He's just not
I
doing it
know,
anymore.
I know. I don't know. So this is, and we can talk about it. This was a really ballsy play by Matt Gaetz. It's Matt Gaetz and like eight or nine others, but ballsy play where they
Yeah,
throw everything into limbo. And it's one of those things, if it works out, this will be like the most clutch play, the most brilliant idea that, we've ever seen pulled off in Congress, or at least, you and I in our lifetimes. But if it fails, it'll be really embarrassing. And I don't want to go so far as to say that it's looking like it's going to fail, but it's wavering a
it's
little
not
bit.
looking good.
It's not looking great. They're going to do an interim speaker. That's Patrick McHenry, and Patrick McHenry, he has a decent rating from most of the conservative groups. Heritage Foundation, they give him a good rating, better than Kevin McCarthy. But what's happened to us for years, and part of the reason that like the base of the Republican Party gets so mad, is that the establishment has held us hostage for decades. Where it's like you get Kevin freaking McCarthy or you get nothing else. You get Paul Ryan or you get nothing else. They'll hold us hostage and
Mhm.
they'll say, you're either getting Paul Ryan or you're going to get, Nancy Pelosi. You're going to get Scalise or you're going to get Hakeem Jeffries. And they'll hold that over our head, knowing that we're not going to just screw everyone. We're not going to be like, no, I want a better candidate. So, what it is they know that we will not hit the self-destruct button, but they threaten to do it all the time. Now, what Matt Gaetz and crew have done is they've kind of flipped that script and they've said, no, establishment, you get Jim Jordan or you get nothing. And the establishment's all pissed about this. They got their panties in a wad because they're not used to being on that end of it. They're saying, "Oh, you guys are holding us hostage." What the heck do you think you people have done for the last 40 freaking years? You've held us hostage and said, "No, I'm sorry. You got to eat this fat steaming pile of crap because it's better than that one." And it's like, you know what? We're heading toward a cliff at 100 miles an hour. with a Democrat in office. We're heading toward a cliff at 80 miles an hour with these Republicans in office. What the heck do we have to lose? I mean, we're like 2 miles from the
That's
cliff. I
true.
say it's time we make a Hail Mary pass and say, you know what do we have to lose? So I was iffy about the whole pulling McCarthy but at this point, screw it. I say screw it. Just do it.
Let's try something. We need to try something. We got to see like how we got to show. I think it's a good thing because it shows the people like how strict it is, like how the establishment, like you just said, it's either this or that. There's nothing else. Oh no, you
Mhm.
have to pick this, right? But who would you think, in your opinion, would be like the best? Like, who would you want as speaker? Do you think Jim Jordan's like the best choice, or do you think there's
Donald
a
Trump,
better
baby. Donald
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 Trump?
bring in
He
Donald
didn't he
Trump.
say he didn't
No.
wanna do it? He
He
was,
said he
thinking of
would.
or he said
No,
he
he said he
would, but
would.
then he backed up Jim Jordan, right?
Yeah, he
So
doesn't
that
want
doesn't
to.
make
So
sense to me. Yeah.
he's not like pulling for it. He just said if it's best for the party, I would do it, which is kind of a
Awesome.
twist because in the past he said no. So now he's saying, listen, if it's best for the party, I'll do it. But in the clip he says we've got a lot of great people like Jim Jordan and
Yeah.
and folks like that. I think Jordan would be great. There's realistic concerns to be had about him, namely that he's never managed to pass a piece of legislation before, which as speaker, people underestimate the significance of the role of the speaker. That's the Realistically, it's the second most powerful position in the United States government. I mean, the vice president doesn't really do much. He sits there and waits for the president to die. The speaker of the house controls everything. He controls, committee assignments. He controls budget stuff. He controls there's a lot of funds that he has oversight over when it comes to reelection campaigns. I mean, the speaker of the house has to set the entire everything about the way that the house works, and it's such a high level political position that you have to be, people don't like this, but it's true. You have got to be a black belt political operator. Like in the Senate, McConnell, although I don't like him, Mitch McConnell throughout his very long and turtleish career in the Senate has proven he is a operator. He is a freakishly good politician. Now, not good like we like him, but he's good at what he does. He's good at
Yeah.
being a politician. And so we do need someone who has a bit of that because otherwise, right, if you drop, no offense on, say, Lauren Boebert, if you drop Lauren Boebert into that position, it would be a nightmare because she just hasn't been there long enough. And, there's so much that goes into that. I think Jordan's a good pick. Scalise would be okay. He's basically Kevin McCarthy if you look at his lifetime record, marginally better, but very similar. I think Jordan's our best bet, but the fact that they just said they're going to do an interim for like a month or two, something like that, I think it'll be a while before we have a Speaker of the House. So we'll have to wait and see. These 21 Republicans that won't vote for Jordan, absolute wieners, the lot of them.
Yeah, yeah. Who else were they voting for? They were voting for. I don't even know, but I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. It's interesting. It's so weird, like how divided even the Republican Party is at this point. Like I feel like even our party is starting to get divided. I wouldn't even say I don't even like calling myself Republican. Actually, I don't like associating with political parties. I just call myself a conservative. Just
Yeah.
show me someone I want in office, and I'm gonna vote for them. Right? Show me
Did you
someone that aligns with my beliefs.
did you know?
What are you gonna say?
The Republican Party sucks, but the Republican Party platform, like on paper, you can read the whole thing. Did you know that it's actually really good? Is the reason I bring that up. The party platform is really good. The people in the party are trash. If they just did what they
Yeah.
said they were going to do as Republicans, it would be amazing. But the funny thing about the Republican Party platform, I believe, don't quote me, it was 2017 was the last time that they updated this, and they have not changed it since. The official party platform, upon its last mention, says that marriage is between one man and one woman. Is anti like the Republican Party platform is anti-gay marriage.
I That's based. That's based.
It's super based,
Mm.
but like you would never. These people don't act like it. Like I'm thinking, shoot,
No.
man, that's pretty cool. But
We move
you know,
so far down that road now, it's so funny to me when you look back and you see like when Biden was asked that same question, right? You talk about a politician that switched sides whenever it favors him. Biden, man. Biden is that politician. He was asked that same like that question, do you support gay marriage? He's like, no, straight up no. Barack Obama nor I support gay marriage. And then all of a sudden now today, it's just like, oh, of course I
Mhm.
support gay marriage. How could anyone not support gay marriage? It's just a simple thing. I know you're Christian. It's just like religious, right? It's a marriage between a man and a woman. It shouldn't be anything else. I don't nowadays. If you asked me like a year ago, I probably would have supported gay marriage, but nowadays, not really. I'm not.
It's
I
okay.
don't really
We all
support gay
had
marriage.
our libertarian phase where we were like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
dude, it's
yeah.
totally fine." This is the problem with that though. Like for anyone who may be listening that's still in the libertarian phase of like, "No, it doesn't hurt me." Rewind the clock 15 years, 10 years. You don't even have to go 10 years. Gay marriage hasn't even been legalized for 10 years. Obergefell was in 2015, legalized gay marriage. What happened in those in 8 years? What's happened? We've become socially unrecognizable. We've got trannies out here reading to kids. We've got trannies out here in the bathroom with their wieners out. You got this guy, Leah Thomas or whatever, is out here destroying women in collegiate sports. There's something to be said for the slippery slope. It can be real. Not always, but it on occasion, you're looking at a a I don't know, a 40-degree angle covered in ice and you're saying, "Hey, we probably shouldn't step on that." And somebody's like, actually, that's a fallacy. You're saying it's a slippery slope. No, it's not a fallacy if it's real. If it's actually a slippery slope, how stupid do you have to be? But, all of these things, culture affects everyone. Everything is downstream from culture, whether it's your education, your politics, your any of that. Everything will always be downstream from culture. And when you have a culture that turns away from a biblical foundation, which was the foundation that we were built on. The Bible is the number one most cited document of the Constitutional Convention. You look at people like John Jay, George Mason, John Adams, Samuel Adams, George Washington. I mean, there were days of like nationwide prayer. This is something that was just well known. These people were devout
That's
Christians. At
crazy.
the time of the founding of our country, 98% of the country was Protestant. I mean, this was a Christian in culture nation, and our laws always reflected that. 2015 comes along, and the subsequent years that followed, and we rejected that. So we reject the moral foundation of right and wrong that this country and its laws were built upon, and suddenly everything goes to hell. Oh, who could have seen that coming? You don't let certain cats out of the bag. Otherwise, you have real negative side effects, and it affects everyone. You don't want to have trannies with their wieners out. Yeah, well, maybe you should have stopped that at the pass 10 years ago.
Yep. No, and it's the slippery slope. It's so true. It's okay. Well, this would never lead to that. I guarantee if conservatives are truly really pushing back right now, I see a lot of conservatives, speaking out more about it, which is amazing. And we saw that through all this, like Bud Light, even Ford, all these woke companies that go woke, right? When June came around, of course, my birthday's in June, which kind of sucks, but yeah, if we don't fight back, I guarantee, same thing what's going on with the transgenders, like they will allow kids to transition to do these transition surgeries that are going to affect them for the rest of their lives. They don't care. They just want to win. I don't That's the weird thing about me. I'm like, do you really just not care about just is that all you want to do is win? Like you'll just see the world burn. If you like they will burn this world to the ground just to say like, ah, I got my way.
Yeah,
So, and I see
literally.
this all the time. Yeah, I see this all the time with celebrity. Like, if we just kept letting them push farther and farther, we've seen bills. In like Washington State. Like, if your kid ran away from home, the state could take them in and give them transition surgery, like stuff like that. Like, bills have been introduced like that, where you're just like, how did we get here? It's
Yeah.
great. It's scary to me. It's so scary, and people aren't seeing this, and they're trying to do this like in a very silent manner, and that's where I'm like, we got to push back now. I'm so convinced that slippery slopes are real. The slippery slope they said was all these leftists said was a fallacy. It's real. Okay. It's not this like boogeyman, right? So that's why I think we should start pushing back more and more and more. And I love seeing conservatives do that.
Yeah,
Like,
now they're out here
yeah,
in the streets saying we're what do they say? There's a chant. We're here, we're queer, and we're coming for your children. It's like, wow.
yeah.
That how
And
did
they were
this
saying
happen?
like that was a joke, like, oh, we were joking about that. I'm just like, I don't know. There's some truth in jokes. I'm not gonna lie. There's definitely truth in
Yeah.
jokes, but
Were they
so
were
there.
they joking were they joking when they rode their bicycles butt naked through the pride parade in front of a bunch of 8-year-olds? Like Is this the new
I got
era of YouTube
backlash for
trends?
that. Dude, I got back and people in
I
the
saw
comments
that.
were disagreeing with me. I'm like, "What? How are you disagreeing with this stuff?" Like these people were butt naked. Okay, if this was and during any other month, if I did that, okay, I would get arrested 5 minutes. 5 minutes, right? Oh, you're
Rightfully
conservative
so,
white
you
male.
know.
Rightfully, I mean, I should. Okay, rightfully so. Yes, but oh, it's during June. Oh man, go for it, dude. We're like, why is this accepted? And people would ask these police officers, um, I forget which reporter it was or which journalist, but ask this police officer, like, why aren't you arresting these people that are naked? Oh, well, they're not doing anything sexual. It's fine. I'm like, isn't it against the law to be naked in public? Isn't that public indecency? Oh, not during June. Not he dead ass said something exactly to those lines. It's so strange to me, and it's like, okay, so we're going to not enforce certain laws because why? Why aren't we
If
enforcing these laws just to make the
well,
alphabet community happy? I don't
yeah,
know.
if you're everybody knows if you're gay, then you can't break the law. It's just like impossible because there's the hierarchy, the totem pole. We live in a de facto caste system in the United States now, where if you're gay, you rank higher on the totem pole because you're more oppressed, quote unquote. And it's like a new achievement every time you stack on like a disability or something like that. You become extra, extra high, I guess,
People are
whatever it is.
disabling themselves. Yeah, there's some people that are giving
For
themselves
real.
disabilities. Yeah.
It's a real thing. There's a name for it. I did a YouTube video on this. I don't know. I can't think of it. But yeah, I was like, you got to be freaking kidding me. These people are like transable. They call themselves transable. But you have a totem pole, like a legitimate totem pole. So you, as a straight white guy, a straight white Christian, you're at the very bottom of the caste system. And then
Of
if
course.
somebody's gay, then they're a rung higher than you. So they get to operate under a completely different set of like laws and consequences. Then you have like somebody who's gay and black, they're even higher. Then you have a gay black tranny, you're getting up to the top. Then you have like a gay multicultural autistic tranny, and it's like now you're I don't know, the top of the top, the big boss at the end of the game is like a quadriplegic that's I don't know, like I don't know, but at the end of the day, that is the person.
A
They
final
could commit
boss.
they commit any crime that they want. But because we're low on the totem pole, if you take your wiener out in front of children, the laws there apply to you. But if you sleep with men, you get to take your wiener out in front of children. It's one of the privileges you get for being higher on the caste system.
Yeah, and that's what the Pride Month is. It's just like this kink, like pride parade. It's like these kink parades where they're look what they're wearing. All this stuff that they're wearing is like sexual it's I don't even know what the term is, what to say, but it's like stuff you'd wear if you have a kink, right? It's all these like
Mhm.
dog mask and stuff and like
It's like
people walking
bondage
on all
stuff, like
fours.
BDSM.
Bondage. Yeah, and they're all like barking and on leashes and I'm like, "What am I looking at? What am I
Oh,
like where did we go wrong?" Like I wish, you know what? I just wish I could bring one of the founding fathers back, bring Thomas Jefferson back, just like Matt Walsh said, and just plop him right in the middle of a pride parade. Be like, look around, man.
he
Dude,
would
you're
shoot
telling me
people.
you would go ham. Dude, if you gave him a fully automatic, like 100 round, you would go through all the 100 rounds in no time.
He would pull up and he'd be like, "Tally ho!" And he'd rip out like a I don't know, a 50 millimeter cannon from the old days and just blow a hole clean through the middle of it. And I'm not advocating for that.
I'm not
Nobody's like, "No,
advocating for it. I'm
no,
just saying what he would do. Yeah, I'm not saying like to advocate for that. Of course not. That's terrible. But I'm just saying like Thomas Jefferson, he would have a shock. If he didn't die from a heart attack, that's what he's doing.
Well,
Okay,
and
and it's like
like we can go back to Thomas Jefferson. You don't even have to. Don't even go back, 250 years. Go back 50 years. I mean, you go and grab somebody. Okay, imagine this. You go and you grab one of the boys right after World War II. This is a guy who has seen horrors beyond imagination. And he's like, "All right, I did all of that to fight for my kids and my grandkids. They're going to have a great future. We rid the world of the evil Nazis." And then you fast forward, you just like grab them and step into a time machine and you stick them out in 2023. You know how depressed they would be? They'd be like, we lost the war? Like what's going on here? This is what we're
we lost
dealing
the
with
war.
now? And They'd be so disgusted. But somebody from 20 years ago, if you went back in time 20 years and you said, hey, listen, there's going to be people who will lose custody of their children because, maybe there was a divorce and the mom wants to make the boy a tranny and the dad doesn't, the dad will literally lose
That's
custody. I can
terrible.
send you a list of this. I've got documented cases from like 7 states of where men have lost custody of their children because the mom, or vice versa, it could be the other way, but so the other parent wants to trans their kid and they
How
protest it,
heartbreaking
they
is that?
lose parental custody of these kids. 20 years ago, no one would believe you if you said that. If you were like, listen, this is going to happen in 20 years, they'd be like, what are you, so stupid? That's not going to happen. Nobody's going
Slippery
to
slope
be,
fallacy.
yeah, nobody's going to be taking your kid because you won't chop their wiener off. That's counterintuitive. Wrong.
Yeah,
Here we are.
yeah. I honestly, if you told me this 10 years ago, right? If you plopped me 10 years ago, like to right here, right now, I would be shocked. I'd be like, what is going? It's so crazy how much different. I'm not even used to like the prices in stores now because inflation, it's just like I'm not used to the world I live in now. It's so odd. It's so crazy how fast it's changing, and we just gotta go back to the nuclear family, man. It's just
We
it was
do.
such a happier time. People's happiness are going down. All these studies are showing this. It's just like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Oh, because we got to be more accepting. It's like we shouldn't be more accepting of everything. We shouldn't be accepting of maps. Okay, minor attractive
Mhm.
persons. Okay, which is guarantee. I'm not surprised at anything. I don't even know. I'm trying to think of like what could be the crazy thing that they're going to do in the future because we already got pronouns. We got, you know, I mean, people can be wolves, I guess, someday, like today, in today's world. It's all this stuff. I guarantee there's going to be like wolf packs, of like humans just running through the woods. And then it's just, I don't know, man.
Imagine.
It's so weird. It's
Oh,
like your mind, just imagine, just whatever you imagine could happen at this point is
I'm
scary
just
to me. It's
imagining
very
myself
sad.
like fishing at some lake, just minding my own business in the woods one day, and then I just hear like this trampling sound in the background. And I look over, and there's like 15 dudes just running naked through the woods on all fours, howling and stuff. That'd be a trip.
It's so weird. It's so weird. I wouldn't be surprised though, because now I know they're gonna go after. They're just like I always keep saying it. Just say you want kids to be able to consent. Just like beyond, it's so obvious to me now. They just want kids to be able to consent. Like I brought this up in the last episode. I saw this guy on live, and he said, he was talking about transitioning for kids, right? That transition surgery, and he said on the live, it was like in the background, it said, "Come on, guys, kids know who they are." Just like, what? To something along those lines. And I was so disgusted by it. But I've debated that dude before, and he is clearly meant something is clearly wrong with this guy. But he has a lot of followers. People listen to him. Like, why are you listening? He's a like psychologist or something. It's so weird to me, man. I'm like, we gotta stop. Like, we gotta stop having people go to college. We gotta stop. Like, we gotta fix this college indoctrination, all this something. We got to restart. We got a 1776 this, so it's crazy.
For legal
Absolutely.
reasons, dear FBI, for
Yeah, no,
legal
I don't.
reasons,
I
we're
wouldn't.
not
I wouldn't
advocating.
advocate
Wait,
for that. Of
did
course,
you know? Did you know that I was? I've told you this. Did you know? Completely unrelated. Total segue for legal reasons. Did you know that I was there on J6? I ever tell you that?
I think you did. I think you did. I
Yeah.
didn't. I don't know why. I think I was something happened for me. I was busy during that day. I
Mhm.
wanted to go. But how? Yeah, it was. It was mostly peaceful, right?
It was interesting. It was very interesting. It was peaceful
Yeah.
from my experience. I did run
Yeah,
into
from your.
one guy who he had some suggestions for me that I didn't follow that would have been very illegal had I listened to him. Um he was
Yikes.
really mad at the DOJ. I don't know. I think he may have been a Fed, to be honest. I
Yeah.
think he may have been somebody like trying to get people to do stuff, but yeah,
I
that
don't
was
even feel
crazy.
comfortable talking about this stuff though, like that, J6, because it's like,
Yeah.
bro, it's crazy how many people it's happening to them that are actually getting, prosecuted for stuff. It's like they're like this dude. Oh no, that might be a different story, but they're going to jail for years,
Yeah,
and some people
21
like
years
Owen
is the
Schroyer.
top. Mhm.
Yeah, Owen Schroyer. Well, he went to jail for. I think he's going to jail for a couple months now because he was
Mhm.
speaking outside. He
He
wasn't
never went
even
in.
there. Like he never went in, and he's getting arrested. And we all know why he's getting arrested because they're just like, we gotta make an example out of him because people are gonna watch
Mhm.
him, they're gonna see him. And I'm just like, dude, that is so lame, and they're being so harsh about it, and it's disgusting to me. It's
Well,
but
to all of the I gotta be careful how I say this.
yeah.
To any of the conservatives who may listen to conservative pundits like perhaps Sean Hannity, who threw these J6ers under the bus, right? There's so many of the oftentimes boomer era commentators that were like, January 6th was abhorrent. This was the worst thing ever. We don't do that. We should always, sing kumbaya and hold hands, and you don't ever push the envelope, don't ever do anything bad. And listen, but I'm not saying that no one did anything bad on January 6th, but a lot of these folks have been talking 1776 game for like 15 years. They've been over here like, buy guns, buy ammo. You need to get ready. Barack Obama is a terrorist, and I'm like, all right, bro, like I'm with you on all of this. And they're saying there's going to be FEMA camps, and they're going to throw us into prison, and there's going to be re-education camps, and we need to be ready to fight. And then it's like a 70-year-old woman walks into Nancy Pelosi's office, and those same people who were talking all that game fall out of their chair. No, you're not allowed to do that. That's the end of the world. I'm thinking, bro, hang on, hang on, hang on. If these people went back in time and they saw what Samuel Adams did and what John Adams did, the Sons of freaking Liberty, look up what the Sons of Liberty did. All right. I mean, they were some rebel rousers. Nowadays, you'd have, some of these people would be like, oh, what are they, Antifa? No, they're the Sons of Liberty. That's Samuel Adams. That's John Adams. The Boston Tea Party would happen, and they'd be like, hang on now, you shouldn't do that because what are you, Antifa? It's like, well, hey, no, 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 no. Somewhere we lost a bit of the fighting spirit. Jefferson has a great quote about, from time to time, the spirit of, no, I'm mixing two. One is very radical. He says the tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants alike. That one will get you kicked off of like Fox News. There's another one from Jefferson where he
Mm.
says, that something along the lines of the spirit of rebellion is so valuable that I hope maybe the people never forget it, or something like that, that there has to be some level of a rebellious spirit in the people, because otherwise, I mean, we lose that and we lose everything. And again, don't ever go and do anything stupid. Don't go and do anything dumb and become like violent or say Victor told me to start a revolution. Chill, you're gonna get killed. Don't do that. But I just, it irritates me when I see people just like throwing conservatives under the bus so quickly. Like a guy walks in and takes a podium. Oh no, it's the end of the world. I don't know. Pardon me, I don't have the same outrage over that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I like the Benjamin Franklin's quote. He said, he was asked, well, doctor, what have we got here, a republic or a monarchy? And with no hesitation whatsoever, Franklin responded, a republic, if you can keep it. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very true, because it's so difficult to keep a republic, because governments over time just naturally become tyrannical. Like our government, it's not like taking laws away, right? It's just increasing, it's just getting bigger and bigger um with more restrictions, and that's a problem. We don't have, like, the Republican Party should be the one that should take laws away, or take away restrictions, but they're not doing that. The only person that we really saw do that is Trump, and it's like that's what frustrates me. I'm just like, guys, when did we lose, like, the rebel? Like, our this country was founded on rebels, so just like, where did we stop being rebels? When did we stop? Is it when we all started, the obesity rate was going through the roof, and we all started to get comfortable? Because there's this great saying I like, that there was this man and his dog and a friend in this house, and then all of a sudden the dog went to lay down, and the friend saw that the dog was about to lay on a nail. So the dog all of a sudden laid down on the nail, and the friend was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. But the dog just sat there and sat there. And the guy was so confused, and he asked the owner, well, your dog's on a nail. Why isn't it getting up? And the guy said, well, I guess it wasn't uncomfortable enough. Because we've been so comfortable now that all these little nails that we're laying on, they're just not uncomfortable enough for us to do anything. And I think that's what's happening with the conservative movement, is that there's too many nails now underneath us that we're laying on, that we're starting to get up and be like, you know what? yeah, I'm gonna start complaining. I'm gonna start changing my mind and speaking out about it. So
Yeah.
I guess we're at the. It took a lot. It took a lot, and hopefully we're gonna see a bigger, a bigger kind of backlash, or we're gonna see more conservatives speak out. But it's like, what could we do though? What could we do besides, let's say, not talking about violence? We don't, just for legal reasons, we're not advocating for violence. But besides, like, what could we do to like change or to speak out? Is like just protest, peacefully protest.
I have been a firm believer for a long time that as soon as the church, not like one specific denomination, but the church, as soon as the church begins to behave like the church, it will naturally course correct basically everything. The church has been silent on social issues for fear of running people off. Pastors have been cucked. They've been totally neutered. They won't touch on political issues because they're too afraid to lose their 501c3 status, which, in case we have a if we have a pastor listening right now, that has only happened one time ever since the IRS brought in 501c3 tax exemption status for churches. It's only ever happened one time, and the church in question put in a half-page ad, I think it was in the New York Times, directly opposing Bill Clinton. So you rarely, if ever, will lose your 501c3 status. And even if you did, God forbid. I mean, talk about a stupid reason to be cucked as a pastor or as a church. You're too afraid to preach God's word. You're too afraid to take a stance against evil because, oh no, I might lose my tax exemption status. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, but if that's you and you're a pastor, you don't worship God. You worship the government because clearly you've put one in front of the other. And it ain't the right order, with that kind of stuff. But if the church would get its crap together, and if pastors would grow the cojones to start telling their congregation, hey, call me crazy, but murdering babies is wrong. You know, immediately. I mean, you talk about, it used to be much more, but in the United States, it's still what, 64% of the population claims to be an evangelical Christian. Where are you at? Where are we at with
Yeah.
that? Because if 64% of the
Right.
population started even just trying to follow the 10 commandments, oh my gosh, everything would be so much better overnight. And that's building block number one. And, communities start, everybody wants to tackle the federal government metaphorically. Do not go to try to tackle anyone. Everyone wants to go after the biggest problem, which is the federal level stuff. Start at your church. Does your church have groups? Does your church have community? Does your church engage in local politics? If not, that's where we start. We start local and we eat one little bite at a time, one little bite at a time. And before you know it, you've got states that more closely resemble Florida and Texas and Missouri and some of these conservative states, and it spreads, and the results are there. We've seen that Florida has done really well ever since DeSantis, which I'm not a DeSantis voter, but he's done well. The Florida legislature has done great. We see what happens. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. There's going to be idiots out there in Illinois and in California and in New York and Oregon and Washington. Let them rot. At this point, let them rot. I think if you're a conservative in those states, leave, go somewhere else, go to a battleground state and turn it red. I mean, there's
Yeah.
a lot of things we can do. The number one thing we can't do is take a black pill. People will say, "Oh, nothing's going to change." You see this a lot among people who have never done anything in their life politically. They just got really into it on like Twitter one day, and now they have a weird number of followers, but they don't like volunteer to knock doors. They don't campaign for people. They don't do any of like the meaningful stuff that actually wins or loses elections. They just post a bunch of tweets and then they're like, "We lost. Nothing is ever going to change. I quit, guys. It's a black pill. Nothing's ever going to get better." And I'm thinking, dude, you've never knocked doors. Like if all of the people who complain about government would volunteer for a campaign and knock some doors, I'm telling, that's how you win, right? It's stuff like that. We have to actually take action, but nobody wants to do that. They want to just shake their fist and go, "Nothing's ever going to change." Yeah, well, if that's the attitude, you're correct. 100%. You are correct. But there's so much that can be done. People jump to like a revolutionary war or to like these extreme things. We have not checked the prerequisite boxes for that kind of stuff. We won't even knock doors. I mean, come on. I've worked a lot of campaigns and I have knocked thousands and thousands of doors, and I still don't feel like I have the right to be like, nothing's ever gonna change, because what the heck have I done? What have I done to earn the right to claim nothing's ever going to change when I've done so very little to make it change? But good Lord, if we all did that overnight, that's the most
Yeah.
irritating part to me is it's like overnight we could change so much. But you got to herd a lot of cats and people are lazy.
Yep. Yep. I agree with that. And that's kind of what you talk about in your book a lot, right? Conservative prudence. Your book is basically just how to be a better conservative, and it just a big part I believe was just start locally, right?
Yep.
Like if we start off locally, that's what's going to make the difference in your states, start off with in your community, and then that's where you can make a difference, because I bet a lot of people are just sitting there black pill just but the majority of people, because it is true that they have a lot of stuff. Like everyone's got a lot of stuff going on in their lives. They got a full time job, they got kids, they got all this stuff. Like it's difficult. It's not an
Mhm.
easy thing. But if you truly want to make a difference, the whole thing of how many nails are under you. Are you ready to get up? Are you uncomfortable enough? Are you ready to do something to make a change in your community? Because we can complain all day, but if we really want to see a change, we gotta be active. So and what else? Because what else in your book that you mentioned? Like, what do you think a conservative watching this, that wants to make a change? What do you think is the best way they could do something?
I would advise everyone to get rock solid in your own foundation. There's a lot of times, and I learned this through trial and error. A lot of times you get the bug, like the bite, you get the bug. You want to make a difference and you just like start shooting at everything that moves. You're like, I am going to be the next Ben Shapiro, fact checked libtards. It's go time. And you just start like debating people. Before you jump headfirst into all of that, get rock solid in your own foundation. Know what you believe, why you believe it. I have a whole chapter in my book about this. Become an expert on whatever it is that you're going to fight for. If it's pro life, if it's pro Second Amendment, if it's, you name it, know it like the back of your hand. And if you ever have to debate anybody on it, destroy them, right? And one
Yeah.
by one, that's the start. You can't be worried about anything else until you've got yourself right. Shoot, we can talk. I mean, that's even biblical. Don't worry about the speck in the speck in someone else's eye when you got a log in your own. The principle remains that you got to get yourself right. And once you get yourself right, and none of us are going to do that perfectly, not even close to it. But that's step one. And then step two is just friends, family, community. We all have a sphere of influence, a circle of friends. They have a sphere of influence and a circle of friends. Something that's kind of crazy, but it's interesting to think about. You look at these idiots throughout human history, like Karl Marx. Karl Marx was one moron. But somehow, some way, that freaking idiot of a man, he clearly wasn't that stupid because he managed to have I mean, we're talking about a genuinely dumb idea that is one of the biggest schools of political thought in the entire world. It's like one of the most influential ideologies in all of human history is Marxism from this one idiot who writes this book. And it started with one guy with his sphere of influence and it spread and it spread and it spread. Well, if something stupid can do that, I mean, how much more of an advantage do we have? We're spreading something that makes sense.
Yeah,
We got
exactly.
the truth. It can be done.
Yeah, no, it definitely. I liked how you said that you got to be really, because I think this is where a lot of people kind of turn away when we say this, but you got to really know, you got to have a strong foundation. You got to be knowledgeable on the subject that you're going to talk about. Because, guys, I'm telling it doesn't even take that much. It's like read it for like an hour, look up a couple studies. It's not you. I mean, Google, it's a little biased, it's going to direct you. So go to Google Scholar, look up some stuff, okay? Because if you know a small amount, you don't even have to know a lot of it, okay? And there's also great YouTube videos on it. If you don't like reading, right, you can listen. These leftists, and Victor and I both know because we both debated people like that protest. They don't know what they're talking about. They truly don't know. They will most likely you won't even have to have a conversation with them. All you got to do, you don't even have to dig into your own point. You just got to question theirs. It's simple questions like, oh, why is that? Where did you get that from? Oh, this and that. And then all of a sudden the argument just breaks down and breaks down. But that's why you don't, because you want to make sure you're not the same as them, right? You want to make sure that that you know what you're talking about. You know that like why you believe in what you're talking about. You don't want to be brainwashed like these leftist sheep. Okay, so go read a little bit, go do some research, figure out like why you believe in something. You know, don't blindly believe in something, and then next thing you know, when someone you're going to be actually probably more open to it because you're proud of it. You're like, wow, now I know what I'm talking about, so I'm going to speak about it more. Because I'm sure, Victor, when you went to those protesters and asked them questions, what do they do?
Oh, they didn't. They just called me a racist and the
Just
usual.
yeah,
Bro, that
nothing. They
was
don't
so
they don't
funny.
know anything. Yeah.
That was
Like that was
I'm
funny.
not
That
big.
was a
You've
pro-life,
done
right?
Yeah, you've done so many more of like man on the street videos and like protest videos and stuff. I never do that. So when I recorded that video, if anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, I did a I don't know what do you call that? I showed up to a pro-choice debate, and ended the
A
entire,
pro-choice
or not debate,
protest and you were just
pro-choice
counter-protesting them.
protest. Yeah, that's the right. I counter protested a pro-choice protest and ended up shutting the entire thing down, and everyone went home and left. Um,
You loved it. It's a
I don't.
great video, dude. Where do they find that video?
It's on
Did you
my
post that
YouTube.
anywhere?
If you just search up my name, Victor Nieves, on YouTube, you can find my
It's so
channel.
funny.
It's on there somewhere. But another funny thing, they got really angry. This one guy got like violent, like quickly, like acting like he was. And if you're ever at a protest and you're feeling gutsy, understand that they have very low impulse control, and you can get
Mhm.
them to say things and do things that will get them arrested fairly quickly if you wanted to. I'm not necessarily saying that's a strategy, but like you can get them to make actionable threats against you within 30 seconds, and you can get them
Oh, yeah.
arrested for that. And I think we maybe should
100.
start doing that because they would do it to us, and like whatever. Um but I don't really do like man on the street stuff. So I called up a buddy of mine. I'm like, "Hey, you busy?" And he's like, "Oh, what's up?" And like, there's these idiots out here on the side of 100, and I'm gonna go debate these people, but I need you to like record me. Will you hold my phone and just so we didn't I didn't have a microphone, I didn't have anything. Bro just pulls up with an iPhone. So I walk up to the first lady I see. No insult on her, it's just an accurate description. She was fairly plump. She was a husky
No.
lady with a stupid sign, and it says, what does it say? She says, "Guns have more rights than women in America." And so I walk up and I'm like, "Hey, um, that your sign, I'm curious. Could you tell me more about that?" And she's like, "Duh." It says guns have more rights than women. And I'm like, well, that's like completely ridiculous, right? Like that's ludicrous. And she's like, what? And I said, can you take your guns into a school? And she's like, no. I was like, can you take your daughter into a school? And she's like, well, yeah. I was like, okay.
It's
Can you
like,
take your
you know what I'm
gun
saying?
into a federal building? And she's like, no. I was like, can you take your wife into a federal building? And she's like, well, yeah. I was like, so your guns don't have more rights than women. Guns can't vote. Guns can't, that's like a for real mush brain IQ take. And as soon as I got into it with one person, ask a couple of questions, and debunk one stupid argument, and like six people circle around me instantly. Like I said, it was like flies on a turd, and this one lady got
Oh,
really
yeah.
upset about that. She's like, "Is that respectful to call us flies on a turd?" And I was like, "Well, in that analogy, I'm the turd, so I don't know why you're offended by this. Like you're the fly. I'm." And, oh, it was so funny. But they all got mad. They went home. There was some failed. He's now a for real failed candidate for Missouri State Senate. He had orchestrated the whole thing. He handed me his card, and I looked at it, and I was like, "Oh, I understand what's happening here." And he was really mad at me. At that time, I had a
Virtue
radio show in
signaling.
St. Louis, and so he's like, he's just trying to get content for his radio show, and I was like, "You're just trying to run for office." And he yelled something. Anyways, at one point, I told him he's going to lose his race. He got offended by that, and
And he
there's this
did.
one
And he
lady
did.
at the very end. This lady's like, "Go get laid," which is hilarious because like what kind of a benchmark of success is that? But I yelled back to this lady, I was like, "I would rather die than get laid by you."
I
And that was it. That was the
remember that.
end. I had to stop. I haven't done one since, but maybe the day will come and I'll do another one. I freaking loved that. But you do better at that stuff than I do. Like when you went to
It's
DC,
so much fun. It's so much fun.
it's
I'm telling you,
ridiculous.
next time there's like a big protest, like go for the pro-life, what's it, the pro-life march? Well, you
Mm-hmm.
should go to that because I guarantee there's gonna be a ton of counter protests there or protesters, and we'll just basically say, you know what? we got you guys. We'll take them. You guys go on. You guys go on, and then we'll just debate them because they don't know. Pro life, pro choice is like the easiest debate when it comes to like protesters. It's just those people have no idea. I saw someone hold a sign that says North Korea has more rights, or women in North Korea have more rights. Like I'm sitting there, I took a picture of that, and that went like viral. That picture was posted on a ton of channels. Obviously, it didn't give me credit, no problem. But I'm just sitting there. I'm like, there's no there's no way you don't see like the problem with that, right? Like you, unless you don't know what North Korea is, clearly they're ignorant, something's wrong. But these people just make these signs, whatever sounds good, and then they just go with it. They just post because they'll, like the my body my choice. If you guys want to debunk a my body my choice in 2 seconds, you ask them, can a mother drink alcohol and take drugs while pregnant? And I guarantee they're gonna walk away or do something because that's like the best argument for that. And there's also some really philosophical arguments for that, but that whole stance is so bad. Just it's so funny, and you guys should watch like Lila Rose, or they all have some good stances on that if you guys want to watch. But yeah, yeah, the pro-choicers, they're terrible. They have no idea.
Oh yeah, they're awful, dude. They're terrible. We
But
need to
what
do
do
that though.
what is it?
We need to do that. If the next time there's like a big, I wish I could have been there when you and Cam were there in DC. But next time there's a big pro life, a clash of pro life, pro choice, we need to get the whole gang together and everybody go out there.
I'm telling you, it's so much fun. I wish I had someone that lived close to me. I wish Mina was down, but he's doing his own thing. That's totally fair. But I just wish I had someone that I could do content with all the time. And I might have someone now. I might have someone now. Like that the girl I'm talking to right now, she said she's down for recording. So you might see more man on the content. That's a problem, is finding a cameraman for this stuff, guys. It's so difficult.
Yes,
You can
and
now
equipment.
find people that and equipment. I have all the equipment. I just I got no cameraman. It's like there's no conservatives that live near me in Rhode Island, unfortunately. And yeah, I even offer. I'm trying to pay someone too, and they don't even like. People don't even want to get paid to. And to be fair, it's that's fair. That's fair because I am saying some questionable stuff, but yeah, it's a little bit frustrating because it's so much fun. It gets addicting at some point when you ask enough questions, or when you ask when you ask one person and you ask another. Have you ever done man on the street interviews?
Yeah, no, never interview style. I've only
Yeah, no,
debated.
it gets addicting. I'm telling you, it gets addicting. You just start asking more and more people, and then you get nervous at first. Like the first couple times, you might get nervous, but then you just all of a sudden you want to like nonstop say or ask people. It's fun. It's fun. So if any of you guys think about doing that, that's a good way to get content. If any of you guys want to be like a political content creator, a great idea is to post man on the street content because that content always does well. A lot of people aren't doing it because it's hard to do. It takes a lot of your time, a lot of editing, So if you want to get into the content world, man on the street videos, that is such a good way to get in there, and there's a lot of organizations that look for that. So,
You know what I've
yeah.
noticed? Speaking of, when it comes to man on the street stuff, you will seldom, if ever, see liberals that do that. Like the TikTok liberals, these I don't want to be insulting. These people that are like bottom feeders that are on TikTok all day that are doing their little quote unquote debates all day, they will never leave their basement. Like they will not go out into public. There's a reason you see when it comes to like these man on the street things, it's always conservatives that are out on the streets is cuz it takes a little bit of guts to go out there, like be surrounded by people who don't
Mm.
like you. There's the inherent risk of some level of violence. People will inevitably act like they want to scrap with you, which no one actually does. They're all cowards, but nonetheless, you don't see the liberals doing this, and I think that's absolutely hilarious and extremely telling.
Yeah, and the ones that did this, the ones that actually do it, there are a couple. They do it to troll. There was this big content creator. There's actually a couple that went to DC during Roe v. Wade, and we kind of talked to them, interviewed them, and the dude just trolled me. That's all he did. He just was. He didn't even troll me. He was just like, I asked him, when does the right to life begin. He's like, that's a great win, dude. So right to life begin. And they were just said it. He was just talking in this childish way, and then he was like he turned over, did like a handstand on the wall, and started like twerking. I'm like, you're a full grown dude. It was the weirdest thing. And I asked him this one question. I'm like, dude, are you on drugs? Because his face was so pale and sweaty. Like every signal was pointing at him, like he was clearly on something. And when I said that, the dude got so nervous. He's like, huh? He's like, what? He woke up. He just knew that, like, oh my god, do I look that bad? Is it that obvious?
Mhm.
Like when I asked him that, his face just got so serious all of a sudden, like the troll left his body. But like people like that, it's just like they go to Trump rallies and they try to just troll. They don't try to have productive conversations or anything, just oh, I'm gonna go to this rally and just ask some stupid questions that make no sense, and then I'll show them. I'll pretend to be a Trump supporter. I'm like, that's so dishonest. Like when I went to the Roe v. Wade, I just asked people simple questions, like just kind of getting into I actually wanted to change their minds. I just asked some questions about their stance, and that's all I did. And then some people didn't like it, and then they were like, are you pro-life? Are you pro-life? I'm like, what? Are you assuming I'm pro-life because I'm asking you difficult questions? It's funny. I don't know. But yeah, there's a couple out there, big content creators, but they're all dumb and troll, and they're just doing it for the memes, I guess. It's really sad and pathetic, but that's all you see on
Yeah.
the left. You don't see any of them taking it
Yeah.
seriously. I don't know.
Well, or the
But
ones that do are like really weird. Really, really, really weird.
yeah, there's some weird people on the left. Like, I don't know. There's some like Harry, Harry's an odd one. He's definitely an odd guy. Like it's I don't know, like typical Democrat. If you guys don't know, Harry Sisson, there's so much stuff going on with him, but he's getting, like, he can post whatever he wants on TikTok and that's gonna blow up. And you just know that the CCP is just allowing this to happen. They're just like, oh yeah, let that boy ride. Yeah, he's getting the views. People like him. Biden, make sure, he's getting videos with Biden and Obama, and you're like, what the heck? But yeah. So, all right, I want to change the topic a little bit right now. I just want to ask, because I want to get back, I want to keep this podcast kind of towards how you grew up and, what kind of got you into content creation.
2020 election. I made my first video 6 days before the 2020 election. It was a pro-life video. I made it in my parents' basement in between. I was in college. I was coming home for a visit. And there were some evangelicals that were acting like they were gonna kind of flake on Trump. Maybe I don't like him. He's mean and blah blah blah. And I was like, dude, listen, 60 million babies have been killed through abortions since 1973. I don't care if you like Donald Trump. I don't care if you think he's a little bit not nice or whatever it might be. There's actual lives at stake. That was the first video I made, and I didn't think I was going to make content. Like I'm a guy who, it seems really counterintuitive, and you'd have reason not to believe me, but it's the truth. I don't like people knowing who I am. I want to live a very private life. I want to be off with some land and a dog and a lake where no one ever has to know who I am. No one sees me. No one bothers. Like, I'm an old man at heart. I'm not a guy who literally, so Smitty, I'll follow you on my private social media and you can look at my social media presence. I am not a guy who ever wanted to have any social media presence at all. I hated all of it. But I made
Yeah.
one video to coming up, to the election. I thought I might have 50 people might see it, like whatever. It did all right. It did like 200, 300 views. And I was like, wow, that's quite a bit. I had done some YouTube in the past. Weird tidbit of Victor knowledge. I made handmade knives. I used to like blacksmith. Like it was a whole
Mm.
thing. Um, and so I had a YouTube channel that I wasn't really in, but I made knives and I got some views there. So I was like, wow, I mean, 100, 200, 300 views on your first video is not too bad. So I kept making a few more as we got closer to the election, and they did better and better. Maybe 1,200 views, 2,000 views. And I'm like, dude, holy crap, I'm famous. Like, this is like, what's going on right now?
That's exactly how I felt. That's so
I was
funny.
like, man, I don't know what to do. All of a sudden, I have this one video pop off, 200,000 views, from like 0 to
Damn.
60. Every time I open my phone, it's all red because it's just like follow, follow, follow,
Yep.
follow, you know, the little red button. And I was like, holy crap. I get 1,000 followers. I get 2,000 followers, 3,000 followers. And I'm thinking, what is going on? So I'm like, all right, I got to keep making this. I mean, clearly if people are listening to this stuff, I need to get this message out because I was all about it in getting Trump reelected. I called it my Trumpaganda, my Trump propaganda. And so I was like hitting it and hitting it. And then we see what was clearly the safest, most secure election in all of human history. Nothing at all worth questioning there. And people started asking some questions, myself included. And I was like, no, this is clearly a fraudulent election. Here's what the Constitution says about this. Where I'm looking at like the 12th Amendment, and I'm looking at the Electoral Count Act of like 1887. So I started breaking that stuff down. When I first blew up on TikTok, it was because I was the guy talking about the Constitution, the laws, where we go from here with election fraud allegations, with court updates, with stuff like that. I was all in it. Obviously, that panned out the way that it did. I kind of shifted to pro-life content at that point, got banned, made another account, and it just
Yeah.
kind of rolled from there until eventually I had a radio show and a book. But it started whenever I posted a TikTok video with my, oh my gosh, the phone I was using was a Samsung. What was it called? It was the cheapest. It was a $200 Android phone. I was what I recorded my first
Wow.
TikTok on. Um, and next thing you know, here we are. So it sounds cliche, but I really do think it's like a God thing. It's very weird to me and kind of scary to think that there's a chance that God's like actually using some of the stuff that I do, but I can't explain it any other way. So I think it has to be, God's led me in a specific direction I never saw myself going. But yeah, that's my content creation, my origin story for all of the liberals who view me as a villain. That's my villain origin story.
Your villain art. Yeah, I feel like that's a lot of the content creators. That's exactly how kind of happened to me. All of a sudden I was super pissed at people getting mad about me for supporting Trump. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do more research. And then I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna start clowning on people with all the research I did. So I started going on Omegle during COVID, and I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna show how little people know about this topic and how brainwashed they are. And I started posting, and then, dude, when I got like 1,000 views, I thought I like exactly like you. I thought I was famous. I'm like, bro, there's people commenting on my post. I'm like, dude, my homie user 5678 so whatever. Like, I'm like, bro, you the man, dude. And I don't even care if it was someone saying like, oh, you're stupid or something. Like, you the man. I'm like, that's sick,
You
dude. You're
man.
commenting on my video. I'm like, I need more comments, you know.
One of the things that took
And
off
I
for me
actually
was no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I actually did have a video that popped off a little bit before I got into all politics on TikTok. It got like 140,000 views, and that was like one of the craziest, coolest experiences. And it was just a random, like, funny TikTok. But yeah, but what were you gonna say though?
Um,
If you
I don't know.
remember, good.
It couldn't have been
But
that
what I was
important.
gonna say is like, yeah, but what I was gonna say is like I thought I was like super like famous, you know. TikTok, I guess the algorithm was so crazy back then where like the for you page, everyone was just on the for you page. No one was following anyone really. So people were just like follow heavy, you know, they were just following every account that they kind of liked, I guess. Because right now it's really hard to get followers on TikTok, I guess. But back then, like I said, I all of a sudden started posting like 3 times a day because it got like addicting and I had nothing else to do during COVID. So I'm like, bro, I'm just gonna keep posting. This is sick, dude. Every time I see all these people, new people commenting and following, and I got like a steady progression of followers where I got to like 9,000. And I showed my cousin at one point, and she's like, you bought them. You bought those followers. And at that point, I'm like, whoa, people are thinking I have a lot of followers now, even though on Instagram, I think I had 400 followers before I did not care about social media at all. I had one
Mhm.
post or a couple posts, I think, you know, like nothing. I did not care about social media. I was just bored and I was upset. And, you know, I just wanted to show how little people knew. And then next thing you know, one video just went viral. And then it was just 180,000 followers in one day, then 50,000 the next day. Then it was just, then now I just sat there and I'm like, I guess this is what I do now. You know, I guess I got people like this. I want to keep doing it, you know? But
Uh,
and I never
I
been
guess this is
banned.
what I
Fun
do
fact,
now.
I did get permanently banned for like 5 minutes at one point on TikTok, but I submitted an appeal and they appealed it like within 5 minutes. So I have been permanently banned technically, but they unbanned me, and so I had actually a second account that I just went live on. That's all I did, and that got banned, but not my main account. It's always been there, the OG account. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Did you ever have
but
anybody w- I used to be like really outspoken before I had content, like before I really made content. I used to be the guy that would like spam Facebook for all of the old women to see. I'd be like, Joe Biden sucks. Like, if you find my old, I shouldn't even say this. It's all private. If anyone was to see my old Facebook account, you want to talk about based content. Victor at 14 years old was spitting bars, dude. I was on fire. Um, but I had this one
Oh
friend from
man.
like elementary school who was like, "Will you shut the up about politics already?" It was like a year later. I had like hundreds of thousands. I'd had probably 100 million views by then. And I so desperately wanted to go back to that guy and be like, "No, actually, I'm not going to shut up about politics. As a matter of fact, like, one of these days you're gonna tell people about how you went to school with me, actually." But, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, the best revenge, like, all those people,
yeah,
they just that told me I shouldn't be doing it. Now they're talking about like, "Oh, I know this one kid that's big," "I know this one kid
yeah,
this and that." Just like, "Bro, you were telling me not to do this stuff." You were
yeah.
making
You
fun of
told
me
me
and
to
this
shut
and that.
up.
Now yeah, bro, I had friends that thought I was so stupid for being a Trump supporter, and then I catch them debating in my comments. I'm like, "Bro, like, that's so bad on your part. You look so stupid."
Well,
But
well, well.
one thing though well, but one thing though, if you guys any of people listening, if you actually wanna, like, be more outspoken, like, wanna be, like, a content creator or whatnot, know how to edit, really focus on it. It takes a while. It doesn't have to be great. That's not the main point, but kinda start to get to know it, and, just be ready to get a lot of hate, because you're gonna get a lot of people commenting, and don't read the comments because I'm telling you, it gets to you if you do pay attention to them. Like sometimes it would get to me back in the day, and I would get so upset, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore, blah blah. But I'm telling you, because sometimes you like feel like, oh, maybe I'm not doing the right thing. You question yourself, and I question myself a couple times, but then like, I'm like, "Why am I listening to these people? Like, they're clearly wrong." Because I felt like I shouldn't I wanna be accepting of everyone. I had this cringy stage, just, libertarian, whatever. But, yeah, you're gonna get a lot of hate. So, prepare for that, and just try not to read the comments, and Jordan Peterson kinda talks about that pretty well too. But, yeah, but I'm telling you, it's fun. You meet a lot of fun people. I would never met this guy if I didn't do politics. Um, but, yeah, if you have like, if anyone listening, Vic, how would you kinda start content creation today?
I have no idea. That's tricky because the market's so
It's
different
tough,
than
right?
it's so
Yeah.
different than it was when you and I started. Because when I started on TikTok, dude, the amount of things that I said without getting banned, I look back as crazy. Like, that was the Wild West, where now you deal with this giant uphill climb. And so, truth is, what I would say is, get if you're good. Like, a lot of people, this is going to sound harsh, but a lot of people, we all have different skill sets. Many of us are not going to be good at content creation. Some folks have it, some folks don't. You can get better at it. I have gotten much better at it than my first couple videos. I look back at those and I want to throw up because they were awful and embarrassing and cringy and awkward. So you're gonna have to get past that phase. But I would say, get good at it, put time into it, and do it right, and then reach out to people who have already done it. Most people, like, I can only speak for myself. I'm sure you're the same way though, Smitty. You're not gonna make it even at a micro level. Like, we haven't made it, but you're not gonna make it and then pull the ladder up behind you. Like, if you're actually good and you have good ideas, you make good content, I would advise you to reach out to someone and get someone that makes content and be like, "Hey, what do you do? Give me some advice, give me some tips." Some people in the industry suck, and some people in the industry are really, really cool, and will be like, "Hey, your videos blow. Here's what you could do better," or, "Hey, your videos are great.
Yeah,
Here's what you know." I think that's mentor in everything. No matter what you want to do, get a mentor.
it's great advice. It's great
And
advice. Yeah,
everyone,
I think a
everyone
mentor is pretty important.
Everyone pick Smitty. Everybody text, like, literally every single one of you just text Smitty and be like, "Hey, I need you to give me like 4 hours of your time every day and coach me on.
No, I don't know about that. Whoa, 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 whoa! Like, I'll answer a DM or two. Like if you guys actually are truly like serious about content creation, I'll be more than happy to help you out. Like I've done that, with some DMs. Like I've had people DM me asking me questions about that, and I gladly answer because I'm like, awesome. We got another person hopping on the, on board. Like this is awesome. We need more people advocating about this stuff. So yeah, I'd be more than happy to. If you guys ever have any questions about that, how you can even be more active, even in your state level, like in your community, a local level, like even ask me, like DM me. I tend to answer my DMs, unless sometimes they get lost in them. I just because some people it's a lot of bad DMs, but yeah, DM me. I'll check it. I'll be more than happy to help you guys out. But I think that is all we have time for today. And I just want to say thank you once again, Victor, for coming on. But yeah, do you want to shout yourself out? I know you got quite a bit going on. You got a podcast, your social media, and everything, and then
Yeah. Well,
go for it.
hey man, I appreciate it. Like I said, I appreciate the invite to come on. Very cool. People can find me anywhere. Just search Victor Nieves. I should, fingers crossed, be the guy who pops up on Instagram, on Facebook, even on YouTube. But the big ones, follow me on my podcast, The Victor Nieves Show. Follow me on, you can find me on TikTok. No promise I'll be around for very long. They'll ban me there. But Instagram at It's Victor Nieves, Twitter at It's Victor Nieves. It's Victor Nieves on all platforms. So, you know.
Yeah, but all right, that is all we have time for today. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to follow the social medias, right minds, right times, and we're out.